Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's yoga class is all about being a go-getter, jet-setter. If 2020 had you floored, now's the opportunity to take back your power. Make the decision today to not just be a passive observer, but to actively participate in making your real life a reality. In terms of physicality, we're working the whole body, and I'd like you to try to keep your energy flowing in one long vinyasa or flow from the beginning of the class to the end when we come to relaxation. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify where you need to, and feel comfortable to take a time out in child pose at any time during the class should you need it. You ready to play? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class in child pose. So I'd like you to come down to the mat, situating yourself more or less in the middle of the mat in a soft kneeling frame with your big toes together, knees softly splayed out. Extend the arms out in front of you and take a nice little stretch here in child pose. If you're new to yoga, this would typically be your rest or recovery pose at any time during the class should you need it. Gently come to a 4-point kneeling position on the mat, stacking through the shoulders and the hips. Tuck your toes under and float your bum up to the ceiling, finding your way into a gentle down dog. Pause here for a few beats, then find your way back to 4-point kneeling. Relax the bridges of your feet and find your way back into child pose. You're going to move dynamically between those three poses, finding a steady rhythm of your own. Moving as fast or as slow as you feel comfortable with today. If your energy stores are feeling a bit low today, you're going to stay here and play with this little flow. If you'd like to ratchet up your heart rate and really get your energy systems going, you're going to find your way to the front of the mat and start playing with Sun Salutation A. Stepping or hopping to the front of the mat and stacking your feet in parallel underneath your hips as you gently ragdoll up to float your hands into prayer pose in front of your heart and find a soft mountain pose with your feet in Samasthiti, stacked hip width distance apart. Take a big breath in and float your hands overhead as you take a gentle back bend. Fold forward, bending the knees as much as you need to connect the palms to the mat and step your legs back into a plank line. Relax to the knees, release the feet, bend through the elbows, hugging the elbows in towards your ribs and find your way onto the belly, pushing softly up off the palms and dropping the elbows down towards the floor as you find a cobra line, extending through the spine. Stay here or push up onto the palms and the bridges of your feet, finding an up dog, nice and braced through the core. Then tuck your toes under, float your bum up to the ceiling, and find your way into down dog, pausing for a breath or two before stepping your right leg and then your left leg up, stacking underneath the hips and ragdoll rolling back up to your start position in mountain with your hands in prayer. Take a big breath in and take a little back bend. Fold forward, bending the knees if you need to, and step back into plank. Relax your knees and your feet. Bend your elbows, finding your way down onto the belly and pausing in a soft cobra line. Push up onto the palms and the bridges of your feet. Find your up dog. Tuck your toes under, settle into your down dog and really try to get those heels down. You can even pedal it out if the back chain of the legs is particularly tight. Step up the left leg and then the right, stacking underneath the hips and peel it up. Let's do one more full round. Take a big breath in and float into your back bend. Fold forward before stepping back into your plank line. Relax the knees and the feet. Bend through the elbows, finding your way onto the belly in your cobra line. Push up onto the palms and the bridges of your feet, pausing in your up dog. Tuck your toes under and find your down dog frame, pedaling it out if you need to. Step up the right leg and then the left, stacking underneath the hips and peel up along the center line to find your way into mountain. Take a big breath in and float your hands overhead in the back bend. Fold forward before stepping back into the plank line. Relax to the knees and feet. Bring it down into the belly and pause in your cobra. Push up onto the palms and the bridges of your feet. Find your up dog and transition seamlessly to your walking down dog. Step up the left leg and then the right, stacking underneath the hips and peel it up. We're going to transition, heel toe in, connecting your big toes and your ankles, or keep your feet hip-width distance apart if you've got any niggles in the knees. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, we're going to sit back into a little chair as we start playing with Sun Salutation B. Fold forward. Try to pause with your hands or your palms on the mat, or hanging table, and hold that little stretch, trying to elongate and stretch the tension from the back of your knees. Then take a big step back with your right leg and find a soft lunge line. Maybe gently swaying back and forth and just opening up the groin gently. Then scooch up the back leg and find a narrow pyramid frame on the mat. Feet both looking to the front of the mat, trying to connect your palms to the floor if you can, or hanging gently in a tabletop line at about a midway point. Legs long and extended, so straighten up both legs. Soften through the knees and step back into a plank line. Give me a full chaturanga to come down. Use the knees if you need to. Bend the elbows, hugging them in towards the ribs. Drag the weight forward over your wrists, setting up your up dog, pushing, and only having the palms and the tops of your feet connected to the mat. Then tuck your toes under, find your down dog, and pause in your down dog frame, trying to get the back of those legs to open up by dropping the heels down towards the floor. Soften the right knee and swing it up to the inside of the right hand. If the leg gets stuck, corral it, bring it forward, line up your knee and your ankle. Drop the back leg to 90 and windmill your body open, finding a soft T-frame through the arms as you settle into Warrior Two. Then tuck your back toe under, pivot to face the front of the mat, and give me a modified Warrior One. Drop your hands to the floor, framing the lead leg and stepping back into a plank. Chaturanga down. If you're using the knees, make sure you're still hugging your elbows in, bringing it down with control, transitioning into your up dog, and then piking your bum up to the ceiling and finding a gentle down dog. Take a step or a little hop by coming onto the fingertips and maybe bending the knees, connecting your big toes and your ankles if you can, dropping the feet down to the floor and sitting back into your chair, weight into your bum and your heels, and then peeling up the center line, finding a narrow mountain this time with the big toes and the ankles touching. Let's do one more round on the left. From mountain, take a big breath in. On an exhale, sit back into your chair. Make sure you've got weight into the bum and the heels. Fold it forward and pause in your forward fold, trying to get lower to the mat. So really drop that crown down. Try to increase the stretch along the back chain of the legs. And then take a big step back with your left leg. Gently dragging the weight back and forth if you need to open up through the groin line. And then scooch up the back line, giving me a narrow pyramid, trying to connect your fingertips or your palms to the floor if you can, or hanging in more of a tabletop line and just trying to give me length through the spine. Soften through the knees as much as you need to ease your way into the plank line and chaturanga down with control, using the knees if you need to. Drag the weight forward over your wrists and find your way into an up dog. Then tuck your toes under, find your down dog frame and pause there for a beat or two, really trying to get those heels to connect to the floor as best you can as you find your inverted V shape. Soften the left leg, swing it through to the inside of the left hand, drop your back leg to 90, windmill your body open and find that long lengthened line through the arms, keeping your palms looking down towards the floor as you find Warrior Two. Then tuck your toe under on the back leg, pivot. Try to drop your groin lower to the floor, framing your ears with the arms as you find a modified Warrior One. Drop your hands to the mat so that they're framing the lead leg and step back into a plank. Use the knees if you need to when you come down in your chaturanga, finding your way into an up dog, and then transition seamlessly into your down dog. Take a little step or a hop to the front of your mat. Drop the feet to the mat and find your chair, Utkatasana. Let's do one more full round. Come back up to standing in mountain with the feet sandwiched together. Take a big breath in and on an exhale, sit back in your chair. Fold it forward and pause. Try to stretch and get a little bit deeper. Take a big step back with your right leg and find your lunge line. Dropping lower to the floor and pausing here for a beat or two before scooching up the back leg and finding your way into a little pyramid, trying to drop lower to the floor with that crown. Ease your way into a plank line and chaturanga down using knees or no knees to bring your body hovering just off the floor. Drag the weight forward over your wrists, finding your way into an up dog, and then transitioning seamlessly into a down dog and pausing here for a few beats. Swing the right leg forward to the inside of the right hand, drop the back leg to 90 and windmill your frame open, finding Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Tuck your back toe under, pivot the foot in and drop lower to the mat, framing your ears on either side. And then dropping your hands either side of the lead leg and stepping back into your plank. Chaturanga down using knees or no knees to find your way into up dog. And then transition seamlessly into a down dog. Step or hop to the front of the mat, trying to land softly on the balls of your feet with the feet together along the midline of the body. Sit back into your chair, float your hands overhead, work those legs and those glutes, float up along the center line and pause, just catching your breath. Last time on the left. Take a little seat, push the weight back into your bum and your heels, feel those legs working, softly fold it forward, dropping the crown of your head closer to the floor and stretching the back chain of your legs as you find Uttanasana. Take a big step back with your left leg, pause in your lunge line, open up through the groin, scooch up the back leg and find your way into a narrow pyramid, trying to drop the crown nice and low to the floor. Belly button softly pulled in to center. Ease your way into a plank line and chaturanga down using knees or no knees. Drag the weight forward over your wrists, find your way into up dog, and then transition into your down dog. Swing the left leg forward, trying to stack on the inside of the left hand, drop the back leg to 90 and windmill your body open, lengthen through the arms, trying to touch the wall in front and behind you. Tuck your back toe under, drop the pelvis lower to the floor, float your hands overhead, and then drop your hands to the mat and ease your way back into a plank. Chaturanga down using knees or no knees to find your way into an up dog, and then bleed seamlessly into the down dog frame. Step or hop to the front of the mat, landing softly on your feet, connect the whole foot to the mat, and then sit back in your chair. Peel back up along the center line and pause here for a breath or two, just finding your way on the mat again. We're going to start playing with a long sequence on the right first before repeating it on the left. Make sure that your feet are together along the midline of the body if you can. So big toes and ankles touching, hands in prayer, in front of your heart, actively pushing into the palms, lengthening and rooting through the feet and giving me a long line through the spine. Sit back in your chair, bumping the weight back into your bum and your heels and take it straight into a rotation on the right, trying to tuck the left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Keeping your narrow stance or opening up your feet, hip width distance apart. Keep dropping the weight back into your bum and your heels and try to pause here for a few breaths. Then take a big step back with your left leg, keeping your hands where they are or momentarily dropping them to the mat first, finding your position first, and then bringing it back to prayer to find a rotated side angle. Don't lean all the weight forward, gently pull or push the weight back into your back foot so that you've got your weight distribution equal on the mat. Stay here for a breath or two. And then we're going to find our way into the down dog frame from here. Gently drop your hands to the mat so that they're framing the lead leg and step your lead leg back, finding an inverted V frame and pause here for a few breaths. Check that your hands are more than shoulder width apart, feet hip width distance apart. Try to drop the weight down through your heels, stretching not only the back chain of your body, but the front chain as well. Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. From here, we're going to find a three-legged dog on the right. Bend the right knee softly, kick up the right leg behind you, keeping your shoulders and your hips nice and squared to the floor, and really take a good stretch here, bracing into the heels of both legs. We're going to play with the knee up plank from here. You're going to think of drawing the right knee in as you come into a plank line and cross over the midline of the body as if you wanted to touch your left elbow, then your right elbow, and kick back. You're going to do that 3 times. Thinking left elbow, kick back. Left elbow, right elbow, kick back. Let's do one more. Kick up. Pause here in your 3-legged dog, trying to get even more stretch up the back chain of the left leg, and then you're going to swing through into a warrior 2 frame, and you're going to pause in it. Think of hugging that knee in towards your chest and dropping it to the inside of your right hand. Corral the leg if you need to, and make sure you've got knee over ankle. Drop your back leg to 90 and wiggle your frame open. Wiggle your legs out and drop low to the floor as you can. Check that you've got knee over ankle and not knee over toe. This puts a lot of pressure on the knee. So wiggle forward, look at your stance on the mat, check that you're not dropping the backhand. Try to give me a nice T-frame, lengthening through the arms, and then keep your gaze steady over the front forefinger as you settle into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. From here, we're going to find a modified goddess. Bring your front leg in slightly to 45 and replicate on the back. Bringing your heels in and floating your hands into Lotus Mudra. So first find a little goalpost frame through the arms. Then float the heels of your palms together, bringing the thumbs together and your pinkies together with the rest of your fingers nicely open, and float your hands overhead as you find a modified Lotus Goddess line. Check that you're dropping your pelvis nice and low. So side view, try not to stick your bum out. Tilt or scoop your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position and hold that while gently pulling the knees open from the inside as you drop down into the line. Hold your little Lotus Goddess. Lotus Mudra indicating that you're keeping yourself open and receptive. From here, we're going to find our way into a tree line at the front of the mat. Drop the arms gently and take a step to the front of your mat. Keep your current orientation. You're either going to give me a baby tree, bending your left leg and keeping the foot softly connected to the mat, or sliding the foot up higher, ending just underneath your right knee. If your balance is good, try to give me a full tree by placing the sole of the foot on the inside of the leg. One up, try to give me a half lotus line by reaching for that foot, tucking the left heel in as close to the right hip bone as you can, softening the right knee, and floating your hands to your little lotus line in front of your heart. Play where you're comfortable. Keep your eye trained on the focal point on the wall in front of you to help hone your balance. If you feel nice and steady here, float your little lotus hands overhead and softly rest your wrists atop the crown of your head with your fingertips open towards the sky like little petals of a lotus bloom taking in sunlight. Pause here for a few more breaths in your modified tree, Vritsasana. And then from here, we'll find our way into a crescent lunge. You're going to unbind your legs and take a big step back, wiggling your front foot forward if you need to and relaxing to the back knee and foot as you float your hands overhead, giving me a soft, almost crescent shape through your back and wiggling the front foot forward to check that you've got knee over ankle. If floating the hands overhead is too much for you, maybe just find a stacked position of the hands, one on top of the other, just in front or just behind, rather, your front knee. From here, we're going to bring it into a low lunge. Drop your hands either side of the lead leg, tuck your back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor. Don't lean forward, push the weight back into your back heel and see if you can stay here, dropping as low to the mat as you can, either pushing your palms into the mat or bending your right arm, tucking as much of the elbow and the shoulder behind the right leg as you can, wrapping the arm around to rest both hands interlaced on top of the bridge of your right foot. Keep pushing back into the heel of the back leg to find your balance. If holding this low burning lunge is not happening for you, just stay in position one with both hands framing the lead leg. Push the mat strongly away and try to drop as low to the mat through the groin as is comfortable for you. At any time, you can relax to the back knee and foot if you need to. Find your little Sirsangustasana, lunge line, and hold for me. Keep pulling the belly button softly into center and keep pushing the weight back into the back heel. From here, you're going to find your way into a plank line, unbind and frame your lead leg, stepping the feet together. Look through and check that you've got a narrow plank with the toes clipped together on the midline of the body so that it almost feels like you've got a big toe framing your nose on either side. We're going to flip into a side plank and find a tree line. Flip to the right, trying to stack one leg on top of the other, either keeping this stack or taking the top leg and trying to place the sole of the foot on the inside of the bottom leg, either giving me a soft T frame or extending that line and bringing the top arm closer towards your ear. If this is not happening for you, maybe bend the bottom leg, extend the top, and just hold here, or find your half lotus line from here and just give me a modified half line, or rather half tree line. Play where you're comfortable. Ease your way back to your plank line. And then allow the feet to softly open up so that your feet are more or less hip-width distance apart. Find a down dog and then transition softly onto the forearms to find dolphin, quarter dog. The crown of your head is floating just off the floor. Try to creep your feet a little bit closer to your nose. It's going to feel almost impossible to get the back of your heels to connect to the mat. But just drop the weight down as low through the heels as you're comfortable with. Keep piking the bum up to the ceiling. Push the floor strongly away with your forearms. From here, we're going to transition into the Sphinx line. And to find the Sphinx, we need to first find an elbow plank. If you need to slide or walk the legs back and bring your body parallel to the floor, finding an elbow plank and pushing the mat strongly away. Then bring the hips down with control, keeping your core softly braced. Connect the tops of your thighs and your legs to the mat and slide the hands forward slightly till you've got your elbows stacking underneath your armpit. Check that you're not collapsing your rib cage towards the floor. Push the mat away strongly with your elbows and your forearms and almost try to grow the back of your rib cage and the crown towards the ceiling. Keep your gaze steady just off the front of the mat, just in front of your fingertip line, and pause in your Sphinx line. Give me a few more breaths here, and then we'll ease our way into an extended locust line. Slide or walk the hands away from you and find your way onto the belly. Tuck your forehead to the mat. Pretend that you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Roll it away and peel up, extending the arms and the legs, hovering them off the mat and giving me a slight bow shape through the back if you can. Hold this position. If this feels uncomfortable, give me more of a parallel line, tucking your head down between the two arms and looking down towards the floor. If you're comfortable here, you can morph into bow pose by reaching back, bending the knees, finding a little grip position in the front of your ankles, giving me more of a bow shape, floating the knees up higher to the ceiling and increasing that bow shape in the back as you find Dhanurasana, bow pose. Either resting on your hip bones or rocking backwards and forwards between the belly button and the hip bones. Find your way back to the mat, gently bending the elbows. Think of finding a soft cobra line. So drawing the palms back slightly till your palms are in line with your chest. Check that your feet are soft and relaxed and parallel. Then find your way into an up dog by pushing onto the palms and the bridges of your feet. If holding an up dog position is too much for your back, stay on the belly And just softly peel up, stopping with your bottom ribs still connected to the mat. Push softly down through the palms and just drop the elbows down towards the floor and try to grow through the neck of your neck. So either holding a cobra line, Bhujangasana, or finding your way into up dog, Urdhva Mukha, Svanasana. From here, you're going to ease your way into the down dog and use it for recovery. If you need to, kick back in child pose or hold your down dog frame, using it as a mini active timeout. Dropping the heels down towards the floor and extending, lengthening through the arms and the spine. Find your way into a relaxed dog by bending the knees and coming onto the fingertips. Take a little hop to the front of the mat and sit back on your bum, extending one leg and then two legs out in front of you, opening, or rather keeping the feet together along the midline of the body and dropping the fingertips or the palms to the mat as you try to bring the heels up off the floor and hold a long line through the spine as you find a high seat in staff pose, Dhanurasana. We're going to work a modified inverted plank from here. Keep the heels together, but allow the feet to softly splay out. Draw the hands back till they line up underneath your armpits. Push up through the hips and drop onto the knife-edged portion of your feet, giving me a modified inverted plank, squeezing through the glutes and trying to bring the hips up evenly towards the ceiling. Then soften through the glutes, find your way back onto the bum and drop down onto the elbows. Bend the knees, tuck them in towards your chest, and then try to open up towards the ceiling. We're going to work an elbow boat. Slowly, 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 with control, bring the legs down as low as is comfortable for you, feeling that work through the core. Don't collapse your ribs to the floor. Bosoms up, push down strongly through the forearms, and hold that modified line, working as low to the mat as is comfortable for your lower back. Then tuck the knees back into the chest. Open up the feet about hip-width distance apart. Drop them to the mat. Scooch the heels, or rather scooch the bum closer towards your heels and drop down onto the back. Feet and knees hip-width distance apart. We're coming into a supported bridge and we're going to play with the bridge. Begin in neutral spine with a little space between your lower back and the mat. Tilt the pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Peel up through your bridge line. Disconnecting one vertebra at a time, coming up nice and high, either keeping your hands palms down into the mat or bending the elbows, giving me a little L-shaped brace between your index finger and the thumb, and then tucking that brace underneath the waist on both sides. Find your position. Try to keep your chin tucked towards the chest and try not to look to the side of the room. Check that your feet are not too far away from the body. Ideally, you want the knees and the ankles aligned underneath each other so that there's no tension on the knees. Pike the hips up nice and high towards the ceiling. Keep that chin tucked towards the chest so that you're activating into the thyroid gland. And then from here, gently let go of the brace either side. Open up that tight spot between the shoulder blades. Coming to a little ball roll, either rocking side to side, or you're going to rock up and down in a rolling like a ball fashion, rocking up just off your tailbone, nodding your chin to your chest, rounding out through the spine, almost as if the sternum was being depressed. You're going to give me about 5 little rocks, and then on the 5th one, you're going to use your momentum to push up onto the haunches, folding straight into a forward fold, trying to drop as low to the mat as you can. Either palms or fingertips connected to the mat. If you're nice and low, try to invert the hands, walk them through, and try to drop really low to the mat. If the floor is not accessible for you, maybe coming into a tabletop line and bracing the palms softly on the top of your thighs, trying to lengthen from your tailbone towards the nape of your neck as you find a modified forward fold. Play where you're comfortable. Check, look down and check that your feet are stacking softly in parallel underneath your hips and that the weight bearing is equal on the balls and the heels of your feet. We're going to drop into a low modified squat. So you're going to keep your foot position, dropping the bum low to the floor and floating the hands out in front. Try to sandwich your chest against the top of your thighs and have the arms extended out in front of you as a counterbalance to your bum weight. Then soften the arms and ragdoll roll up. As you ragdoll roll up, heel toe your feet in, connecting the big toes and the ankles as you peel softly up along the center line. We're going to come into a little standing figure 4. You're going to bend the right knee, think knee to nose on the right. Then reach for the right ankle as if you wanted to tuck into a lotus line, and try to rest the right ankle atop the left thigh as you sit down into a little chair, floating your hands into that lotus mudra with the heels of your palms together, your pinkies touching, and your fingertips open like little petals towards the ceiling as you sit back into that chair. Then bring your feet together along the midline of the body. Make sure that you sandwich together nice and tall with your hands in prayer. Actively push into the palms, float your elbows wide. Feel a beautiful root to the mat and try to grow from your tailbone to your crown as we repeat the sequence on the other side. Take a big breath in to prepare, and from mountain pose, bump the weight back into your bum and your heels as you sit back into a chair. Then rotate to the left, trying to tuck the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Keep bumping the weight back into your bum and your heels as you hold Parsva Utkatasana side chair. Try to keep this rotated position through the trunk as you take a big step back with the right leg. If that feels uncomfortable, drop both hands to the floor first. Step back with the right leg, find your lunge line. When you feel comfortable and confident on the mat, float your hands to prayer and then rotate the right elbow to the outside of the left knee, finding your rotated side angle. From here, you're going to ease your way back into your down dog. Use it as you would child pose. If you need to hang out in child, feel comfortable to take your little child rest now. Try to really drop the heels of your feet to the floor. Feel a beautiful stretch up the front and the back chain of the body as you find your inverted V shape. Then soften the right leg and kick up the right leg behind you, settling and holding your three-legged dog for a few beats. Check that your shoulders are even and your hips are even, so try not to pop and rotate through the hips. We're going to play with that little knee up plank sequence. You're going to think of pulling the knee in towards the chest, cross over the midline of the body to tap one elbow and then the other, and then play dynamically. So you're going to think right elbow, kick it back. Right elbow, left elbow, kick it back. Let's do one more. And then you're going to swing through into a warrior 2 line. Step it up to the inside of the left hand, drop the back leg to 90, windmill your frame open, lengthen through the fingertips, and pause here. Check that you're not dropping the back arm. Try to keep your arms in a soft T, so maybe glance back, check your alignment. And then we're going to ease our way into that little goddess line. Focus on your front leg, bring it into 45, and replicate on the back leg. Finding a goalpost frame, then bringing the hands together overhead to float the heel of your palm together. Connect your pinky tip and your thumb tips and open up the fingers to the ceiling. Try to square up through the knees and the ankles. Holding your modified goddess, tucking your tailbone under, pulling your belly button in. And then step to the front of the mat and set up your tree line. Either baby, half mast, full mast, or half lotus. Pick your poison, find your focal point on the wall in front of you and keep your eye trained on that point. Float your little lotus bloom overhead and try to rest your wrist line on the crown of your head, keeping a soft micro bend in the left knee if you are in a half lotus tree line. Remember to just play where you're comfortable, modify where you need to. From here, you're going to take a big step back and come into a crescent lunge. Uncouple the feet, take a big step back, bending the back knee and foot, wiggling the front foot forward if you need to find your little low lunge and float your hands overhead, almost as if you were trying to frame the ears and give me a soft crescent shape on the back. If floating the hands overhead is too much, find a comfortable stack position on the thighs and just gently lean into it, feeling a nice stretch on the inside of the right hip bone. Then drop both hands to the floor. Tuck your back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor. Don't lean forward, push the weight back. Either stay here pushing both fingertips or palms into the mat, or bend the left elbow, tuck as much of the elbow and the shoulder through and around, and then try to interlace the hands and rest them really softly, not leaning any weight into that front leg. Keep pushing back so these coupled hands in front are really softly just connecting to the top of your foot. From this low lunge, Sangustasana, we're going to find our way into a plank and then bring it to a side plank, hopefully with a little tree line. Step back into the plank line and try to clip your feet together along the midline of the body. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, flip over to the left, stacking one leg on top of the other and holding here, or bending the top leg and trying to tuck into a tree line by placing the sole of the foot on the inside of the bottom leg. You can modify your position as you did in round one, maybe bending the bottom leg and stacking from there. Maybe extending your top line and bringing that top arm closer towards your ear, almost as if you wanted to pierce the wall overhead. From here, you're going to morph into a down dog and then drop to the elbows. Finding your quarter dog position on the mat, maybe creeping or walking your feet in and trying to really increase that stretch on the back chain of the legs. Don't try to connect your crown to the mat. Keep the head floating off the mat, but drop the crown down so that you can really feel that inversion through the head, giving yourself a beautiful mini facelift. No Botox required. Keep creeping the feet in and really trying to work the back chain of the legs. Keep that belly button firmly pulled in and keep pushing the floor softly away with your forearms. From here, you're going to find your way into a Sphinx line. To find the Sphinx, modify first and come into an elbow plank, sliding or walking your feet back if you need to transition and find a strong elbow plank. Not collapsing, nice and strong through the forearms. When you're ready to transition, softly start dropping the hips towards the floor with control. Once you've connected the top of your thighs and the feet to the mat, slide your hands forward. If you need to, check that you're not collapsing through the shoulder girdle. So push strongly through the forearms and the elbows and try to grow your shoulders and the crown of your head up towards the ceiling as you find your Sphinx. Then gently slide the arms out in front of you and come to rest on your forehead, taking a mini stretch here first and relaxing any tension from the back of your neck. We're coming straight into an extended locust line. Find a little marble underneath the nose, roll the marble away from you to the front of the mat, peel up through the arms and the legs, giving me a slight bow shape through the back if you can, or dropping and giving me more of a parallel Superman line. If this is not enough for you, or you want to play some more, bend the legs one at a time, finding a grip spot in front of your ankle, brace into the heels, float those feet up to the ceiling, giving me more of a bow shape through the back, and maybe gently rocking between the hip bones and the belly button, or just holding steady in a position that feels comfortable for you. Find your way back to the mat, bending the elbows and dropping the palms alongside your bosom as you retuck that marble underneath your nose and try to ease out the tension from the back of your neck. Keep the elbows hugged in towards the midline. Tuck your toes under. Push through the palms, either keeping your toes tucked under or staying on the bridges of your feet as you find your way into a strong up dog, strong through the belly. So don't collapse and hang on the shoulder blades. Push the mat strongly away, brace your core, modify and find your way into a down dog. If you need a timeout, ease your way into child. Otherwise, Hold your down dog frame, really trying to get an awesome stretch into the front and the back chain of the body. Step or hop to the front of the mat, coming softly onto the haunches, and then ease your way into a seated frame, sitting up nice and tall at the front of the mat with the feet sandwiched together along the midline. Push your fingertips or palms into the mat and try to draw up through the tops of your thighs and your lower abdominals to float your heels just off the mat. Dandasana, lengthening tailbone to crown. Then keep the heels together, allow the toes to softly splay out as if you were finding a Pilates V through the feet. Float the hands back, lining up underneath your armpits. Drop the knife edge portion of your foot to the mat on either side and pike your hips up to the ceiling, squeezing softly through the glutes, activating and drawing up through the legs from the kneecaps along the hamstrings and the quads to float up into your inverted table. Then softly peel back onto the bum and slide onto the elbows. Draw the knees in towards your belly and pause here for a beat. Then lengthen the legs up towards the ceiling and work a modified boat line, but don't collapse through the chest. So keep bringing the chest up to the ceiling as you bring the feet down slowly with control. Uber slowly. I want you to feel a little burn south of your belly button. So work that little soft tummy pooch, hovering just off the floor if you can. And maybe this time giving me a little split on either side before bending back in. Dropping the soles of your feet to the mat, easing the way onto your back and finding your bridge. We're going to play up the bridge this time. Check that your feet and your knees are hip-width distance apart. Find neutral spine. Tilt your pelvis towards the 12 o'clock position so that your lower back imprints into the mat and start peeling up with control, mobilizing one vertebra at a time as you come up nice and high in your bridge line. Either staying here, hands down into the mat, or float the two shoulder blades together even closer. Find your little L-shape brace on either hand and tuck that brace underneath your waist on either side. Stay here or give me a one-legged bridge by floating the right leg up to the ceiling, toe pointing straight up as if you were trying to pierce the sky. Then change sides. Make sure when you come down that you distribute the weight evenly. So transfer all the weight to your right leg and float the left leg up to the ceiling. Keep chin to chest. Reconnect to the mat. Pause in your bridge line, making sure that you're piking those hips up evenly towards the ceiling. Nice little flat belly, chin tucked firmly towards the chest. Do not look to the side of the room when you're in this pose. You don't want to inadvertently tweak your neck. Relax your brace on either side. Open up that tight knot between the shoulder blades first and then roll back down. Really slowly, one vertebra at a time, reconnecting to the mat. Once you've found your way into neutral spine, gently hug the knees in towards the chest, either cradle rocking or giving me a little rolling like a bull action. Gently peeling up almost as if you were coming into a boat line with the weight just off your tailbone, rounding out through the spine. In a nice little C-curve frame and rocking back as far as your shoulder blades only, not onto the neck, and then peeling back up to your start position. Give me one more this time. Use your momentum. Plant your hands and your feet into the mat, finding your way softly onto the haunches and then coming straight into a forward fold, trying to invert your hands, walk them through and drop the crown of your head down to the floor. Or just play in a tabletop position, maybe hanging fingertips to the floor or bracing on the top of your thighs and lengthening from your tailbone to your crown. Find what works best for you. You're going to give me a few more breaths here. Just drop that crown nice and low to the floor. Check your feet. Check that they're stacking in parallel underneath your hips. We're coming into that Upavesana, low squat modification. You're going to bend through the knees, float the hands out in front, coming into a low squat line, trying to sandwich your chest and the top of the chest, rather, to the top of your thighs and bumping the weight back into your bum. Arms extended out in front as a little counterbalance. And then gently fold forward again, heel toeing in, connecting the big toes and the ankles and ragdoll rolling up to come into your standing figure four on the left. Think of that half lotus tree line that you played with. Think knee to nose on the left. Reach for the heel and tuck it into the inside of the thigh on the right, trying to find a resting spot on the top of your thigh. Bump the weight back into your bum and your heels as you find a modified one-legged seat, and float your hands into lotus mudra with the heels of your hands together, pinkies touching, thumbs touching, and the rest of the fingertips looking up to the ceiling. Gently peel back up along the center line, shake the legs out as you find your way back into your narrow mountain, pushing into the palms, dropping the shoulders away from your ears. Tuck that tailbone under and giving as much length, not only through the spine, but through the back chain of the legs as you can. From here, we're going to come into relaxation, either finding your way onto the back in Shavasana or coming into Thunderbolt. I'll change my position slightly on the mat by bringing your knees together and your feet together and sitting back, floating your hands into Venus Mudra by interlacing the fingers. Ladies, left index finger on top. Guys, right index finger on top. You're going to allow the thumbs to gently connect to the Venus mound, that little soft spot between the index finger and the thumb on either side, and just rest the hands in your lap. Close your eyes, take your focus in, and settle down. Start noticing your breath pattern. Give me a nice even one-to-one inhalation to exhalation, actively dropping the shoulders away from your ears every time on the exhale. Keep your eyes closed and try to visualize the little scene that I'm going to set for you. Visualize yourself walking in a forest. You've been hiking all day through the dense foliage. The air is thick and heavy. You're tired and oh so weary. Your energy stores are totally depleted and you're just about ready to give up. Your legs feel like jelly. Your back is aching from the heavy backpack that you're carrying, and sweat is pouring off your body in rivulets. Annoying little insects are buzzing around you and nipping at you. As you clamber through the next set of dense leaves, come across a beautiful hidden waterfall. Pristine, fresh mountain water dropping into a pool so clear you can see all the way to the very bottom. Step under that cool, refreshing spray and feel it washing away all of your weariness. All those negatives that you were feeling begin to disappear. All your doubts, your frustrations, your fears, resentments, and anger. Instead, feel yourself being filled up with a host of positives. Feel revitalized, feel energized, feel eager, feel passion, feel the drive to go out conquering and succeeding. Take a moment to relish in your newfound strength. Own it. 2021 is your year. With that thought, bring your focus gently back into the now and end off your practice for today by floating your hands into prayer mudra in front of your heart, pushing softly through the palms and feeling that energy softly humming through the hands and feeding out to the rest of your body. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and playing with me today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Remember to shoot me your comments in the comments box below and to subscribe with your notification bell on. I shall see you all for Pilates conditioning on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.